Hello, welcome to Unifying Force. I'm Kat. This is Dave. Geo is not here because he is off seeing Revenge of the Sith in theaters, which I have already seen twice. Dave, have you seen it yet?
I have not had a chance to go see that in theaters again. It's like every time something comes up, it's like, damn adult responsibilities.
Welcome to episode 90, in which Dave was our representation going to Celebration Japan, and now he's going to tell us all about it.
Oh my gracious. Celebration Japan was a whirlwind of crazy and announcements and just like masses and masses of people. Plus the bonus of being in halfway around the world, right? It's like how crazy is it that you're 13 hours time difference than you normally are, and as we're going live on the CNN here, the people that were back stateside is when we're getting up in the morning and we're starting to hear the reveals. So we're sitting there like texting the things back live, and wow, I mean it was a thing. It was amazing. It was a great experience. I would do it again, except for the 13-hour plane ride. I never want to do that ever again in my life.
The 16-hour time change was perfect for watching it at home.
Yeah.
That would put the stream from like 6 or 6:30 to 2 a.m. in the morning. They did not cover nearly as much on the stream this year as they did in previous years. Every once in a while, they would cut to interviewing one of the vendors, but they didn't really take the camera across the celebration show floor very much, or show off what was in the booths, because it seemed like this time each booth was like enclosed in its own little space rather than being kind of more open as in previous years.
Yeah, so they probably didn't tour the con floor because there wasn't a whole lot of con floor.
Yes, I've been hearing.
There really wasn't. There were larger venues. There were more kind of show booths. I liken a lot of it to San Diego Comic-Con is where it's the big kind of vendor show booths. They were very enclosed and boxed off. You know, if you got a corner booth, you had maybe 2 entrances to the side, but it wasn't really open as a lot of things are. I mean, there were a few t-shirt vendors. I think I spotted maybe 1, maybe 2 like vintage toy dealers. It was a lot of the large corporate booths. There's, the Lego booth there. The Hot Toys booth was gigantic. The Hot Toys booth took, I don't know, the space of 5 or 6 booths. Maybe it was like one entire section across, and you could go in there. There was, I think, a MetaQuest, the VR goggly kind of thing. They had a very nice booth, and they had like a lounge where you could go in and sit and like rest seating. So very nice draw there. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they didn't really show like the con floor, because it was not nearly as big as it has been in the past. And a lot of the reason probably why was everything took place on the con floor level, right? is there is a like an upstairs, like a mezzanine kind of place for at the Makuhari Messi at the con center, but it wasn't like panel rooms and things were up there. Is all the panel rooms were booth shapes or curtained off sections of the main floor. So, you've got your Galaxy stage, and that takes a giant chunk of one of the halls of the floor. Photo ops are on the floor. Autographs are like right behind Hot Toys, kind of almost buried behind Hot Toys. Like if you were just going back and forth and you didn't kind of peek around the corner, you'd miss it. So it's that kind of thing. I think that's why. And the live stage took up a huge amount of space, and as well it should, because a lot of people got to go in there, and with as few panels as a lot of people got, I think the live stage was a go-to for a lot of people.
I was upset because it felt like they were teasing us with the cameras on the live stage, because behind the live stage you could see the banners for Hot Toys, and like go over to the Hot
Oh yeah,
Toys booth, because you could see in the wide shots how wide that booth was, but you couldn't see because there were a bunch of people around it, so you couldn't see what was in there. And I'm like, come on, go to the Hot Toys booth. We must see the Hot Toys, because on the website it's one thing when they show you like on the digital,
yeah.
dimensions, but it's another thing when you see it like in person on like how big and just what it looks like in person. But they didn't go over there.
Well, they would have legitimately had to have taken you inside the booth. The outside of the booth was largely black walls, and they did have some nooks, some insets that you could see the stuff for sale in there, and they had people outside passing you flyers of what you could order inside, like little mini Hot Toys booth catalogs. But yeah, it didn't have the kind of wander in, and I don't think they could, because a lot of it was a queue inside it, and the queue spilled out to outside the booth and was like down the outside of the wall on one side. So you had to go in, and I didn't go in because I knew that I had enough stuff I was bringing back already that there's no way on earth I was going to be able to fit like Hot Toys figure box in there. So yeah, I didn't go in there. I don't know if they had like, large display cases in there that you could see the actual product or not, but I know it did a gigantic business, because you saw people with huge shopping bags full of Hot Toys coming in and out of there all hours of the day, every day of the con. So it's a big one.
Nice.
But yeah, the live stage, I went over there a few times. It was really cool. A little bit difficult to get up to the front on the front side, as you had to stick around there for a while. But we'd see over on the side of it, we after the Favreau interview, is Favreau would come over there and he's shaking hands with the fans, doing a few autographs on the side. People who could reach and had something ready. I thought that was very cool.
Nice.
It was kind of a place to be kind of thing. So I spent the vast majority of my time like in panels. The big panels were very cool this year. Is we started out on day one with the they said it was the Mando and Grogu panel, but that wasn't all they were. That was more like their opening Lucasfilm what's coming up kind of panel, because they did talk about Mando and Grogu, and we got trailer, teaser, whatever of Mando and Grogu. Did they broadcast that live out on the stream?
No, but they did briefly upload the minute 15-second trailer on their. I'm not sure how long it was up for. Not very long, but I watched it, and then they took it down. So I don't know if somebody mistakenly put it up there or what. But I saw it that way. But no, they didn't. That was the cause of a lot of the delays during the stream, because anytime they would show something,
Yeah.
they wouldn't show it, so it would just skip. So there'd be set back even further. I remember when they were doing the Ahsoka panel, when they announced season 2 live. That was 40. Even though I was watching live, they announced that 45 minutes before they announced it on the live stream. Because people were mentioning it in the chat. Oh, season 2, season 2. And I'm like, really? And then it's like 45 minutes later, watching the same panel, they finally mentioned season 2. So there was but I understand that they showed. I think that was also the same day they did Andor and showed a whole episode, which they didn't show us, of course. So that would be
Oh
the
yeah.
cause of the delay, of the further delay. That is.
That probably is the reason in there, because yes, we got the entirety of the first episode of Andor in there. We didn't get, they haven't started filming Ahsoka yet.
Yeah.
Rosario told us that that's going to happen. Well, probably actually this past week.
Right
So,
now.
the week afterwards. So they may well have started at this point, but they had, well, they did have, it's hard to explain. Like the original, kind of old school crazy trailer things, like at the end of Star Wars, at the end of it, A New Hope, they had the old school kind of coming soon. You will see the big. It was that same kind of voice. So Filoni cut together using images from season 1 and artworks and different things, cut together a retro trailer for season 2 that we got to see, that I'm sure that they didn't put out or stream live. So it really did have kind of a nostalgic feel that really was very accurate to that kind of, that period thing, that 70s kind of, this is what's coming next. Even though we don't have anything to actually show you, we can give you the feel of what's coming next, or tease you into wanting to see it just from clips of what we already have.
Nice.
That was really nice that they brought us something, and I'm sure that had to have been done largely just for Celebration, and that you would have had to put a fair amount of work into that. So that was appreciated. It was a huge response when Hayden came out. That was the biggest kind of response of the day, is bring Hayden out. Is like, even though he is really just like this much of Ahsoka.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Mando panel is we're back in the Mando panel, and if you haven't seen that was my moment of the celebration. I was in my Dave Filoni cosplay that morning and got called onto the stage. That's something right there. That's the stage of, I had to Google it and look it up. That stage holds like 9,000 people.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
I'm relatively used to being in front of people, when I'm coaching games, as I've probably been in front of 1,000 people, but 9,000 people, holy crap. And then doing completely like, let's humiliate ourselves sort of things. Let's go.
Did you tell them the story about you being mistaken for Dave last year at Comic-Con?
No, I did not get a chance to do that on stage, because we were just telling a story, or we were playing a game, not really having time to tell stories. But yeah, that's the whole point of the Filoni cosplay, is to get that kind of, yes, Filoni. That would be my cosplay identity. I even had pins made.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. This was my swag for that entire day, is I had like nice metal enamel pins made. And anytime anybody would go like, "Hey, Dave Filoni," or "Oh, nice cosplay," you get a pin. Oh, you get a pin. You recognized it, you get a pin. And yes, absolutely. That is the Filoni is in effect. What? You didn't get one? Oh, well, that's a you need to message me. We can make that happen. Is Yeah, that was my fun. Uh
Those are really cool pins.
yeah, it is. Well, yes, Juan. I figured that when you didn't get Juan, it was Juan.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
figured that. Yeah.
it's early in the morning, but it's not that early in the morning. So we're
um,
there.
so one of the
Um,
major. Oh yeah, keep going.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say one of the major announcements that came out of Celebration was the Starfighter movie with Ryan Gosling, who looked like he was somewhat half asleep throughout the whole con. He was like, "Yeah, I'm here." He didn't seem very on. I'm told though that Spencer shouted up at him, "But you're just Ken," and then he looked at him and pointed at him and nodded.
He totally did. We were pretty close. We were a little bit right of center. Um and I don't know, 3, 5 rows back, not very far. So yeah, is he had said something about how it was going to be or whatever it is, and Spencer's like sitting there going yelling, "But you're just Ken," and so yeah, is Juan is Ryan's hat. Never tell me the odds, and that just kind of old school hat. That he at least did kind of show something there, and Hayden's hat with the leather patch. People translated the Arabesh, and it was saying Jedi Master. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, not so much.
So you and I were talking about how it was intriguing the choice of director for Starfighter because Sean Levy has directed the Night at the Museum films. He directed Free
Yes.
Guy, Deadpool, Wolverine, The Atom Project. And it's like, okay, these are comedies and action and stuff, but when I hear Starfighter, honestly, I kind of think the same thing as Rogue Squadron, but not as
Well, yeah,
exciting
you're
because Rogue Squadron would
thinking
be
it
more exciting.
Top Gun in Star Wars.
Right. And again, it's like, well, maybe we could get Joseph Kaczynski to do it. So I'm
I
not
mean,
sure.
over, and I'm not suggesting that anybody do this, but I would far more see on something like that a Michael Bay as opposed to Sean Levy.
That's why I'm like gonna hold my breath a little bit that it could turn into a Lord Miller situation where it's like, tonally this really isn't working. We need to make this more straight laced. uh, but we'll see. I was kind of a surprising choice.
So, I mean, I again am of two minds of there. He has yet to demonstrate. Well, I guess he has sort of demonstrated their action capable in Deadpool and Wolverine. Okay, there's action in there to some extent. There's action and stunt work in Free Guy.
Hmm.
But as like a fantasy action film, which is what you're thinking Starfighter would kind of be, so many of his movies are so much more of like just a snarky comedy that I
Right.
don't know fits the tone of Star Wars. Now I could be wrong because I did very much, and you would not have thought that Ragnarok would have fit in the Marvel series, and Ragnarok was kind of a refreshing break where you had just kind of had the same kind of tone of Marvel movie, Marvel movie, Marvel movie, Marvel movie. Thor Ragnarok, I thought was a nice tonal shift and break. So, and no, I did not know that Starfighter is actually an existing Star Wars game. There
Hmm.
one. But I'm betting it's not like a snarky comedy game.
uh, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's on Steam. Is that a remaster one or is that something new? Uh, because I know it's kind of been all the rage lately to remaster a lot of old games from the '90s and stuff, which I love because I
Remaster
got a lot of those.
is it like Battlefront or something like that? Just kind of relabeled and kind of put down.
Okay, yeah, it's an old game. He says. All right, cool.
Yeah, there we go.
Um,
That's
I it's a very safe announcement. There was a great article I read yesterday talking about Sinners and Celebration Japan, and how, over the past week, Sinners did something which was unimaginable. It made $58 million from Monday through Friday. And that's not even a holiday, which is insane to add
Wow.
that kind of money, because that's how strong the word of mouth is. And it's like, yeah, people are craving good original IP and things that are like bold or different. And then on the Star Wars side of things, halfway around the world, the project they announced is like, okay, so it's like another version of Rogue Squadron, but maybe not as exciting. That a very safe. It's like you needed, and same with Mando Grogu. It's like an extension of a TV show. It's the same kind of thing. It's like
Yeah.
there's nothing. Come on, you got to something risky. Like they haven't done risks in Star Wars in maybe 8 years now. It's like we got to
Join
get back
3
to that.
heroic starfighter pilots in harrowing deep space and planetary missions to save the planet of Naboo. Rookie Naboo.
Hmm.
Interesting. So one would assume that Reese would be Ryan Gosling. Form an unlikely alliance as unexpected. I mean,
Well, this takes place after Episode
but
9. So
this
it's probably
right,
nothing that.
exactly. So they're
No,
going to have to change that and modify that because that's not taking place during the.
I don't trust the people in the film department to even be aware of the Starfighter game. I think they probably just picked the title,
Thus is also true.
and they'll probably
Or
cannibalize elements of the Rogue One or the Rogue Squadron movie, which apparently never got written because Patty Jenkins said that, oh, I still owe them a script, which confirms for anybody who was doubting it that the reason that movie got canceled was not because of creative differences, but because Wonder Woman 84 didn't do so well, which proves the pattern that we have talked about in the past. So, so that's something. But it's like okay, Starfighter could be good. Mando Grogu, it's basically it's a Mandalorian show or whatever on the big screen. But we're still waiting for something really new and different that's going to be
well, I mean, you're
kick back
right.
to
The
taking risks.
last new and different was the Mandalorian. And the Mandalorian being new and different was still just a piece taken. That was basically like the Boba Fett movie that everybody had been talking about was going to happen for forever. Is like, oh, well, here we'll change the color of his outfit and do this, and there you go.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a different take. It was still in the vein of the so and so a Star Wars story. Um,
I wonder if they're going to put that tag on, by the way, on the Mando Grogu title. It's a bad title. Like, if they put a Star Wars story, okay, because they have Solo, a Star Wars story. Like, if they did something like Vader, a Star Wars story. But Mando Grogu, a Star Wars story, would make the title go down a little bit easier because it reads like a cheap marketing title because we want to tell people what characters are in the movie as opposed to, coming up with a cool Star Wars-y title for the movie.
yeah. I mean, and will Starfighter be a Star Wars story? Who knows?
Yeah, so it's like, with those being the announcements on that front, it's like, yeah, Andor you could say is taking risks because it's a more adult themed
It
TV show,
is.
but still, we're by the time Mando Grogu comes out, it'll be nearly 6.5 years between films, and like we haven't been taking risks since then. It's like we need to get back to doing. Yeah, trust original filmmakers to do things that are original and unique, as we've just seen Ryan Coogler do with Sinners, which is returning great dividends in just over the past week, 121 million already, which is impressive. For an original movie that is not tied to any type of pre-existing IP being released against a Minecraft movie, which is still dominating at the box office. So to put up those numbers against a big IP film is very impressive.
Well,
So
it is, but your Minecraft movie is again the kind of level of originality. It's not.
it's not original. That's the thing.
It's you made a movie, a big blockbuster movie to put out with a built-in audience already. All of the kids who have just been who are currently Minecraft addicts and fanatics. Plus, Minecraft has been around long enough to where you've got not quite
So
multiple generations, but a big span of age range. You've got the kids that are into Minecraft that are like 6, and the Minecraft kids who started playing it when it began, which are probably nearly 20 at this point.
So I saw Minecraft just to see what it was, and I'd never played the game. I tried reading a Wikipedia article about Minecraft, and I still didn't really get it. But I watched the movie, and it's like, okay, so this is basically a bunch of references and member berries throughout the whole thing with a very weak story because they dumb things down for kids these days. Kids movies aren't as good. The kids movies I grew up with are like the Back to the Future trilogy, Indiana Jones trilogy, Goonies. They don't make good kids movies like that anymore. But I would compare this against another IP film from
Arguably, those aren't kids' movies, but
well, they have a
we
untimely
saw
family
them
appeal
as
to them.
kids. But yes,
But 2 years ago, I saw another movie with a built-in IP, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
mm,
But unlike the Minecraft movie, everything in this film did not felt organic to the story. It did not feel like they were doing member berries or referential. Undoubtedly, there were a lot of that in there, but it still felt organic and told a good, solid story. Whereas, looking at Minecraft, it's like member berries, member berries, member berries, and throwing that, throwing that type of stuff at the screen. Yeah, he did. Jack Black did.
and well, they
But
knew that when they cast Jack Black because again, they saw what he did in Mario and
right,
just
but
go.
and speaking of which, Mario was what kind of killed this movie's box office because this shows that you can actually take an IP and make something that's digestible, if you will, for the whole like all casual fans, even if they've never seen it. Does a really great job at it. You
Now,
haven't
is
seen
that
this
the
movie,
one
I
with Chris
recommend that you see it.
Pine in it?
Yes, it's very very good film. Whereas Minecraft, it's kind of like member berries, and it's like, can we see something like that from Star Wars? Like something that yes, it's in there, but isn't obsessed with member berries. Because I know Dave Filoni's kind of preoccupied with glorified cameos lately,
Well, I
and it'd be
mean, this
great
is
if you
what
just
Star Wars is doing here. Seeing Revenge of the Sith today, this is where the fun begins. Is Star Wars is just putting back on the big screen, the nostalgia right there,
and
and
it's
and
tracking to
making
make
bank with it.
yeah, it's tracking to make 30 million this weekend, which is insane, and will probably extend the release from over. It was supposed to be out only a week, but it might get an extension if they keep doing this well. Which and you said they didn't have any panels for it at Celebration for the 20th anniversary, despite that they knew this was coming out a week later.
No, nothing. Like the 20th anniversary was not mentioned at all that I saw. Now, I think there may have been. I did not attend day 3. My flight out of Tokyo got moved up, so I was not there at all on. I was not there at all on day 3. But I want to say I saw posters that were given out. I think at Celebration, the Japanese version of that poster. Yes, exactly, Sherry. When has not Jack Black? Yes, that is correct. Including in The Mandalorian is
And Hugh Grant, he says.
Oh yeah.
He was great in that movie. Hugh Grant.
Yeah, but this is a miss in my opinion at Star Wars Celebration is you had actors from the original trilogy in there. You had Hayden, you had Anthony Daniels. Had you put the two of them on stage for an hour and we'd just listen to them talk and applause at anything said. Yeah, see, that's what Mike said. There was a poster, but there was no panel. And
I wonder if that's because so many fans complained about the episode 1 panel, which I went to that. I liked it because it's better than nothing. And I hadn't been to Celebration before, so it was fun. And that was the panel where Ahmed Best got the first big standing ovation in a long time. I don't know. Did they do an episode 2 panel at Anaheim? Probably not, because it wasn't planned that way. Because it was supposed to be the 40th of Empire.
But Anaheim's been a long time.
Well, no, it was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, no mention of the whole thing. But you did. You had for prequel era, you had Hayden, you had Anthony, you had Ahmed Best. I mean, he could have been there. He very little to do in episode 3 there, but he was there. Doug Chang was there as well. You put Doug Chang on there, and I don't know if Doug actually did a lot of the art for episode 3, but he did for 1 and 2. So there's plenty of people that could have spoken intelligently about that.
Well, it's kind of like when they did the 40th for Jedi panel. They had a bunch of people on the panel who didn't even work on the movie. They were just
Mhm.
newer Lucasfilm people who were talking about the other people who had worked on that film. Yeah, so I'm looking here through
Well,
his thing,
yeah,
and as I suspected,
Kathleen was there. There were lots of people there.
so Revenge of the Sith is not on Doug Chang's resume, and I remember that because
Okay.
they had other. I'm not sure why, because it didn't think he was working there, so I'm not sure uh what was going on. I know for 2005, his credit is War of the Worlds, the Steven Spielberg version, and his designs for that were great. He's Doug Chiang, he's amazing. But my point overall, as I was making, is that you have something like Dungeons and Dragons movie, which is appealing to a mass audience because even though it has undoubtedly lots of references and member berries, everything feels organic to that story. Whereas Minecraft, it's like a reference after reference after reference and member berries. And it's like with Star Wars, we've been seeing that Filoni's kind of occupied with, glorified cameos, like when they, oh, don't worry, we're going to honor Dark Disciple, even though we're retconning it. And it's like, well, did you really with her appearance in Bad Batch Season 2? And like Ahsoka being on Luke's planet in the book of, I was going to say Mandalorian because it pretty much is, but it's the book
It
of
pretty
Boba
much
Fett.
is. The
And it's
Book of
like,
Boba Fett was
I
just
get that
like,
from a narrative standpoint, she was there to get Din Djarin to ask, maybe you should do what's best for Grogu, but it's like, why is she literally there with Luke? It's like they had him on screen at the same time, but that's the reason she's there to go, ooh, look how cool it is. They're in the same shot.
yeah.
But there's no inherent, it's like, is she going to talk to Luke? Are we going to hear, do they know each other's reputation? And it's like, it would be nice if we could see something, Star Wars do something where it's not member berries for a change. Like even with Acolyte, where they had the big Darth Plagueis thing,
Hmm.
which granted was very inside baseball because they didn't mention his name, and if you didn't know that
Yeah.
character, you would be completely in the dark. But I kind of wish they would, like, even with Mando, Grogu, Starfire, it's like don't throw cameos or frame it around being a big thing. We got to get back to making Star Wars, which is going to have that's not too inside baseball for casual fans, but has that mass wide appeal that isn't just designed around glorified cameos.
Well, and I'm surprised that that Acolyte didn't do better in that. Is Acolyte was kind of a big swing and a big kind of difference to where you're
Yes.
well, okay, sections of the Acolyte. All right, sections of the Acolyte taking that out and essentially making a lightsaber kung fu movie. You know, um, we love that when people take like squirrels fighting and give them lightsabers on the internet. If you're doing Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with lightsabers, is you would have thought that would have hit better, but it's the rest of the blah 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 that
Well,
didn't
it didn't
work.
hit well because the writing was god awful.
Yeah.
You know what I thought was gonna? It would be like if you took some of those vision, like I keep forgetting the name of it, but the Visions one from season 1, the Sith guy who got his own book novel spinoff.
Yeah.
Like that would be kind of what you're thinking in your head when you're thinking a Sith acolyte story. But we don't need to rehash that. We've done that at Unifying Force. You can go through our playlist to see what we thought about that show last year.
Yes. But did they not mention that character that we're talking about that I can't think about, the traveler, the whatever,
the stranger?
No, not the stranger from the Acolyte, but what we're talking about from Visions.
Oh, Vision, yeah.
Traveler is that we're going to get to see more of him. Did they say that at the season 3 panel?
Well, they said that
the Ronin. Yes, Mike, the Ronin.
The Ronin. Yeah, yes, thank you, Mike. I'm not sure if he's going to be in, because he's not from the Ninth Jedi storyline, which, by the way, is one of the announcements. We're getting a Ninth Jedi expanded miniseries next year, which is cool. Vision Season 3, October 29th. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that was going to, I'm told from, I know Troy was there at Celebration. He says there were a lot of cosplayers for Vision characters at the con, which I expected that was going to hit big there, which is probably why they saved all of the Visions and Japanese stuff for the third day, because that's, like you do, you save the best for last, and in Japan, your audience, that's what they like. Yeah. So that was all the panels and all the most of the live stage stuff on day 3 was with the Japanese creators. They brought out Kenji Kamiyama, the guy who just directed the Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim film, which is good. You should check it out on Max. They brought him out because he's doing Visions, and so that was really cool. But you love how they do that. That of course that samurai Ronin influence, and especially with the dark side with those shows. It's like that would be awesome to see in live action.
Yeah.
Like we just got a hint of that with the Predator Badlands trailer, where you see like different time periods or something, where you see the almost like the samurai influence or something of different eras. It's like that would be great for a dark side, you know, Star Wars. But I guess what I'm getting at overall is that when you have movies like Sinners, which if you haven't seen Sinners, go see it. It's got a banger soundtrack. It looks fantastic. Amazing movie. But I would love to see them go back to trusting filmmakers to have their own creative voice. Like when they announced that they were going to do a Rian Johnson trilogy that was completely separated from everything you know from Star Wars, like a completely different corner of the galaxy, like thousands, if not centuries away. So it would be its own thing. And it's like, yes, I've been waiting for Disney Star Wars to do something like that since they bought the company, so we can expand the universe instead of everything being tied into this really tight knit timeline.
Yeah, is the closest that we've sort of gotten to that is, I mean, Ahsoka now is in a completely different galaxy far,
Yes.
far away, or is that galaxy closer? Who knows where that
Oh,
kind of
Dave
thing.
mentioned that that galaxy is actually featured in Star Wars maps in the movies. So I'm gonna have to go back and check.
Mm. Yeah, and Mike is exactly. Kenichi
Yes,
is one the cosplay that for the Visions cosplay of the Ronin. It was an amazing one. If you
it
go check
was.
out the page and look at those, their pictures all over there is amazing. And the Star Tours one, that he made, that costume that he made for his daughter, equally as cool.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, that was
so
cool. The one guy who made his daughter was too short to go on the Star Tours ride, so he made her like a push wagon that was designed to look like the Star Tours vehicle. It's just
that's the same guy,
that's the
same
same
guy
guy.
making.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's great. That was cool.
So it really cool. A lot of really cool cosplays and stuff. There were, some ginormous, nearly screen accurate Wookiees rolling around. A lot of people taking samurai takes on all of the things. Samurai Vader, Samurai Boba Fett. Like Padme was already pretty close to like Japanese in her episode 1 outfits. A lot of
Mhm.
those Queen Amidala ones were, so you got a lot of that. But then other like fun stuff too that comes from America. You got Anna and Elsa Mandalorians.
Mhm.
This is like, let's make the Disney with the thing.
We also had some interesting publishing announcements. We're gonna get the Art of Andor, a Star Wars story, which is
Mhm.
gonna cover both seasons, but that's not releasing until next March. Uh, which I thought it was odd that you announced that at Celebration, and you figure they would want that out to coincide with season 2, but no, it's not going to be out for another 11 months. It'll retail for $50 apparently, and we also had my favorite. They had the ILM 50 book that's coming. 50
Mhm.
Years of Innovation and Magic. There's no pre-order links for that I've seen yet, so we'll see when that comes out. And my absolute favorite publishing announcement is the Doug Chang 2-volume art book in the same vein of the Ralph McQuarrie one that'll be coming out December 2nd. The pre-order price had jumped by $50 overnight, which was
Whew.
after they announced it, which is crazy. But I can't wait to eventually add that book because his art is. I went to his panel at Chicago. That was my favorite panel, even though that wasn't like one of the big ones or anything. He's great hosting panel. It's fantastic.
I saw one Doug Chang panel and wanted to get in the other one, and it did not work out. He did a masterclass panel on Saturday, I think.
Mm.
And that one was the one I missed out. That was going to be really nice, but he did a art of the Skeleton Crew panel
Mm.
on Friday, which was just looking and seeing how from his sketches to then his more finished artworks evolve into what we see on screen. That's just amazing. That's
See,
just
that would have been great if they streamed some of those panels. I keep looking on YouTube to see if there's going to be any bootleg copies or something. Haven't seen many yet.
yeah.
Because they didn't stream as many panels this year. I was disappointed that they did not stream the ILM 50 panel and instead streamed the sidekicks of the heroes sidekicks or whatever it was called that had Alan Tudyk and Anthony Daniels and Ahmed Best, with Ashley Eckstein hosting or
Yeah, see,
moderating.
I did not see that one. Is I was in the other one, which was the Stars of Star Wars, which was hosted by Vanessa Marshall, where
Mm-hmm.
she interviewed Mads Mikkelsen. And
See,
you're right,
I want
Mike.
to
There
see that
were
one.
not. I didn't think there were as many panels as there have been in the past. There were some here and there. Is I missed Felix, a friend of the group here, had a panel that was about Star Wars and mental health, and that panel they put it up against the Mando Grogu panel. Come on, man. I mean, just give us some time, because even the people who didn't get into the Mando Grogu on the main stage are sitting there. They're packing the streaming stages, and then you're very few people are going over to like the fan stage during that. You're going to the live stage hoping for the announcements. Is give some of the more fan pages like a time. I think too, for whatever reason, it occurred to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. That Celebration this Japan like ended early. Normally there were some panels and some events, some movie watching that went on later after the con floor itself was closed. But since everything was on the con floor, like 6 p.m., they closed it. You're done. And by like 6:05, 6:03, they are kicking you out. They are everybody there. The entire staff is like, nope, get off the floor. Gotta go.
Mm.
Yeah, is there I didn't think there were not that many huge announcements or the extra stuff either there. One is I
That
saw the red carpet area outside, thought that they were gonna have some sort of premiere thing, and it appeared to me that all that red carpet area was used for was um interviews. They just had
well,
people coming in there, and they were using that for interviews. Like there were little booths on the mezzanine where the Dave and Kathleen Kennedy, and they were being interviewed in these little places. But
I think part of that is because of in regards to why it's smaller and there was less this year is because we know that they did not originally intend to go to Tokyo. And a lot of the vendors, let's face it, for Celebration in the past are American, and that's a lot of money for the smaller vendors and stuff to go to like I didn't go to Tokyo because I looked at the prices like, oh shit, like I
right,
can't go to Tokyo. Like the ticket that all the airline tickets I was finding to get to Tokyo that didn't involve Expedia where they reschedule your flight at a drop of a hat, which I wasn't going to risk, were $1,000 more to fly from California to Tokyo than it would be to fly round trip from California to London, which was insane.
mm,
But I missed the London panel too. That one got robbed. But so that's why part of it is why that would be smaller. But another reason is because it's good that they didn't announce much because they have a really bad track record when it comes to announcing versus making. Like what is it, 80-90% of what they announce gets canceled or goes away,
yes,
and it took them way too long to learn that you do not announce something until you are doing it. Like the James Bond company, Eon, made that mistake once, where at the Cannes Film Festival in May 1990, they rolled out the red carpet to announce the third Timothy Dalton movie, Property of a Lady, and then MGM fell victim to bankruptcies and an aggressive corporate takeover that took nearly 5 years to get out of, and it didn't happen. And so, ever since then, they never announce a movie until literally the day before they start filming. And
right.
even when entertainment scoopers get a scoop early, they won't comment on it or whatever, even in this internet age. So it's like, yeah, Star Wars could afford to learn that lesson, and they finally did because they're not announcing things until it's pretty close to set in stone. Even though I'm still crossing my fingers that the Starfighter thing works out and that we don't hear a few months from now, well, things didn't work. Oh, he had to leave, or
Right. Yeah. That one needs to happen.
yeah. I'm
If
guessing
that
that Bob
goes
Iger's going to light a fire under him and say, "No, you need to meet that release date," because that's what happened with 9 once they got rid of Colin. Is that Kennedy went back to Iger and wanted to get a release date extension. And he's like, "No, you've had plenty of time to plan this, and if you cancel it, that's on you." And that's why they had to. That's why Rise of Skywalker sort of has a Mission Impossible type, scavenger hunt type plotting. Like if you get
yeah,
the book, The Art of the Rise of Skywalker, some of the paintings are dated as early as October 2017, which is just 9.5, 10 months before they started filming because they were racing the clock because they were not going to get another release date extension. So I would think in that regards that Iger's going to light a fire and make sure that they make their release date for Starfighter. And
Well,
again, because they didn't announce much, I think they're going to stick to their guns. Because notice we understandably did not get an update on the Dawn of the Jedi movie
nope.
because James Mangold had said that once he had finished Indiana Jones, he was going to do the Bob Dylan movie, which he just finished the award circuit for that. So he's probably starting on Dawn of the Jedi right now, which is why we didn't get an update on that project.
Well, and we got absolutely zero update on the Rey movie.
Canceled.
Daisy says that it's still happening, and if that's a reasonable source.
She's where was she? Antigua or the Caribbean? She posted recently. She was like in the Caribbean or something, vacation, and I'm like, why didn't you bring her to Celebration? Yeah, you can bring her there for the heck of it for sign, or a panel or something.
Well, that's that. Oh, don't get me started on this. Okay, there were so many people that were there. The autograph hall was light. Okay, very light, and I get the whole fact that it's a lot of expense to bring people to Japan. It is. And a lot of people, the big people have a big guarantee, but you had people there that were already there that if you had put them out signing, they'd have done craziness. Like you for the first time ever, Doug Chang was signing at a booth. Doug is usually just wandering the floor, and people that catch him, he'll sign whatever. But actually at a booth, yeah, when he was there, but he didn't have as many signing times as I would have liked. At so many cons, if somebody is not in a panel or doing a photo op, they're at their booth signing. And there was not that. They had specific, like 2-hour chunks or so that they're signing, and that was basically it. But I mean, if you put Filoni and Favreau at a booth, holy crap, it'd have been out the door.
Well, Doug Chang signing, and then I heard John Knoll sign. They never signed before, at least not at the American cons. I'm like,
listen,
I was like drilling, like, I was so envious and jealous and FOMO when I found out that they were signing because I would want to be there to meet them.
This will disgust you. John Knoll's booth was empty. His line was empty.
You see, and I think part of that could be attributed to, maybe there's a different interest in Japan. Because they said Japan, most of the fans were interested in Visions and cosplaying as that, as opposed to the mainstream movies. So maybe they don't watch a lot of the behind the scenes or aren't as interested. But and like when you told me, what broke my heart was when you said that Mads didn't have a line. I'm like, if I had known he was going to be there, didn't have a line, I would have sent you PayPal money to get me an autograph from Mads.
Is Mads no line could have been walked right up. John Knoll, like literally saw that his line was completely empty, and on the spur of the moment, scanned and went. I did the same for Vanessa Marshall, as I've had a Vanessa Marshall autograph before. I've met her at ICCC, but like there's nobody there, so it's like we need to go get that autograph.
And you mentioned the same with Alan Tudyk, right? He didn't have.
Yeah, it was the same with Alan Tudyk. And I might have just hit the right time, but I circled through the autograph area a lot, and literally there was one family in front of me for Alan Tudyk, and it's just like, how is this?
Well, maybe because a lot of Japan, maybe they don't, because he's not a face in Japan necessarily that people recognize, maybe.
But he's everything. I don't know. I mean, I can get that maybe Firefly's not big in Japan. Maybe that didn't happen. I don't know. But the Disney movies, you're not there for the Duke of Weaseltown or Hey Hey or something.
The Duke of what now?
The Duke of Weselton from Frozen.
Oh, I haven't seen those yet.
Oh, cat.
I've
friends, right now I'm announcing coming up the Unifying Force episode where we shame each other for movies we haven't seen. And that's going to be one right there that you haven't seen, Frozen, which regardless of how you feel about it is a cultural touchstone at this point. That's yeah.
But I hope that they don't take the wrong message from this and decide, oh well, people didn't line up for Doug and John, so we won't put them on the floor next time. No, you got to put them on the floor in L.A. And I
Oh
think
yeah,
as to why Dave and John weren't signing it, part of it is some people just don't want to do that type of stuff.
yeah.
Like, like Adam Driver for a while did some private signings, but but private as in you sent shit, he signed it, and then but you weren't there. What, like, he did a con like once. He's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not into that.
Mm.
And that
Well,
might be the same things. We know that John was walking the hall floor and was loving all the cosplays and stuff, but
yeah.
for not everybody, doing the con thing is not everybody's cup of tea. The autograph booth signings and all that.
Oh yeah, I mean, that might be the thing is they don't want to do it. I get that. I don't know that does it send the message that they're too big to do it. I get that Kathleen's not going to do it because Kathleen that invites a lot of
that invites people to come up and start saying a bunch of it's like no.
Yes, but
even though you don't tend to get that crowd at Celebration because those aren't the type of people who are going to show out to go there, it's still not the best idea.
But like John and Dave, I think would have been Sigourney Weaver was there. Right. They had already brought her in. She did a private signing while she was there.
Yeah.
Would it have hurt to give her a couple of hours at a booth?
Well, maybe that's again another thing. Maybe she preferred private, didn't want to be on the floor because again, that's not everybody's cup of tea.
Maybe. It's possible. I don't know.
But like you said, the thing which was the huge misstep was how big Visions is in Japan, that they didn't have, even though they had all of the artists and the directors and stuff and writers of Visions were there, none of them were signing or doing photo ops on the floor. It's like, why not?
You are completely correct, Juan. Is the Tokyo Disney ride for Frozen, the animatronics in New Fantasyland are amazing. Amazing. They don't necessarily look, it's hard to describe. They don't look real, but they look like real animated come to life. It looks like the animated characters are there and a lot. Now that's the regret that I did not get to see for day 3 not going was the Visions panel. But yeah, why were the people not associated with that signing? That would have been great. They had all of the actors there for Andor and they didn't sign.
Mm-hmm.
Genevieve O'Reilly, you would have again lines out the door. The actress that plays Dedra,
mm-hmm.
I mean, I just don't understand. You're already paid to have them there. It's like,
maybe
okay,
it's because they did the math and thought that, well, maybe these guys aren't going to get as many signs because it's Japan and they have to meet a threshold for certain actors. I don't know, maybe whatever it is. It's just. But you told an interesting story. You said that at our own club event, not so virtual, that you had the actress from Skeleton Crew there.
Yes.
With a line out the door for people wanting to get her.
Kiriana Crater from Skeleton Crew, who plays KB. Oh my gracious. Like, we had already pre-sold our tickets. Our event was sold out. Right. We were at capacity for the bar. But we created the thing of the hyperspace ticket because not everybody was sticking around and hanging out all night. So I don't know, Juan. I don't know about the Japanese being huge on autographs or not, because at Not So, we had that line snaking around over to the side of people absolutely waiting to get in. And I'm out front and trying to get across to the people. A lot of people in very broken English is like, KB's in there? KB's in there? Here to see KB. Absolutely. There was a little KB showed up in a kimono, or Kiriana, not KB, the actual actress, but she showed up dressed for the Japanese audience. We had a little girl show up cosplaying as KB, who came and waited to get in, and we're just like, come on. But her line,
that's their cup of tea. Like, they're going to show up for Visions because it's big there, and see Asian actors in Star Wars. They're going to show up for that.
Yes, you're going to see a someone with Japanese heritage in Star Wars is, and I wonder if that would translate to all Asian heritage. It may.
Right, like, they
Um,
could have brought Kelly Marie Tran there to see
uh-huh.
what would have happened in that case.
Yep. So you could see, but the people there just these are people off the street that had just heard she was there, who were not completely thing. Oh yes, the venue was completely. It was a little bit cramped because of how much stuff we had going on in there, and how many people were there for the amount of time. Is it? There were periods that it was standing room only, like not even moving through the room. But we did manage to get in. I don't know, like another. I'm ballparking, in addition to the 100 and so that were ticketed, another good 75 who got to come through and meet it. Yeah, it wasn't a sit down event, Mike. It was, you're eating, you're drinking it, the pub table kind of thing. I think that pub in general wasn't a really kind of sit down pub. Is most of the tables were your standing bar tables. They did have that we had to move out some of the high stools, and there were a chair section, but most of the sit down section was what we used for what we used for uh the autographing area. Is the people that were sitting down, that those tables were the people. Oh yeah, is the drinks were absolutely great. I don't know how the food was scarce at times, because there was a absolute ton of food that was kind of leftover stuff at the end. I think it was that the food might have been in a place that was difficult to get to for people, because I know I personally, the people running the restaurant, I got like doggy bags, right? Is the food was around. It was just possibly in an area that was hard for some people to get to some of the time. But yeah, the restaurant workers were great, and they sent home little doggy bags where they like drew little Star Wars pictures and put messages on them. Like, and I ended up carrying those back to my hotel and eating them after. So I think it was not that it wasn't there. It was that the crowd was so difficult to get to be able to move around to where it was. Is it
Mhm.
wasn't in a readily distributable area. Um, but yes, Juan, you drank a lot, so you were still happy. It was a really really cool event. All of our guests for that. So that was a wide variety of signers at the not so virtual Cantina event. We had everywhere from Jim Swearingen, who was the creator of the original Kenner figures, Fawn Davis from ILM, and the creator of Mouser Mecha Catbot from BattleBots. Chris Parsons from the original trilogy. He was uh, Forlom from the original trilogy.
Mhm.
Yes, Mike with the little captain's hat. That if you didn't see Mike with the captain's hat, you missed out.
Cool that we had
Kiriana, Marty
variety.
Matuis, Marty from the Skeleton Crew and the Mandalorian. Marty actually sat with Spencer and I at the Andor panel the next day, and that was really cool too. Watching people come in on the floor and they're walking by the seats, and they look at Marty and they're like, and then some of them like would even walk off a couple of steps, but then would come back and go, "Are you the?" Yes, yes, yes. Uh, so yeah, Marty was absolutely awesome, and you are welcome. We knew we had that patch, Mike, so we had to make you the official virtual Cantina cruise director.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I think LA's going to be huge. LA's going to be much bigger. This was a smaller destination uh, celebration, is a lot of the fun and stuff of celebration. This celebration was where all of the non-Japanese just coming to see the country, is
Yeah.
coming to see the country, and you weren't spending as much time, but I know so many people from the group who showed up. Well, Mike, I question that, right? I've seen estimates that there were 100,000 people there. I've seen estimates that there were 75,000 people there. But eh, I don't know. And even if there were 100,000 people there, I'm thinking in LA, it's going to be bigger than that. It was definitely a smaller autograph hall. There were not that many people compared. There were less than half, I think, of the people in London. But of course, London is going to be like LA. London was a place where there's so many people that worked on the original trilogy where they live, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Friday felt like a Saturday. The Friday was it was more crowded than general, but again, this was a 3-day celebration as opposed to a 4, right?
Yeah.
So, it's a little bit more concentrated. And I don't know, as I've heard things about the venue in LA, I haven't been there, but if they in fact do, if they are able to get panel rooms off the floor, you'd have more of that. If you're able to get the crypto.com arena for your celebration stage, that's going to be a little bit of a hassle to get out of the con itself and over to the arena and back and forth. But if they create an efficient way to do that, and so many more people will get to see the big panels in that arena, that will be great. That will take a lot of the pressure off of the streaming stages. You won't have to have as many streaming stages if you can get people there to see it in person, and the space you would use for those streaming stages would be way better to do other fan panels. You've got many more opportunities to have more panel space. Oh yeah, and Boonti E5 we're already planning it, people. It's already out there. We're exploring some venues in LA, some really cool possibilities for those venues, and looking to solve some of those issues about it being a little bit crowded there. Juan, we're looking at a pretty large space, so looking to have the whole thing. And then the Lucas Museum 3 train stops away, open by then. And using both buildings like they did for Celebration 4. So plenty of space and no excuses for not having a large autograph hall because of so many people who have worked on both the original trilogy. People or stuff are living in LA at this point. They're the Mandalorian and Obi-Wan, I think, was largely filmed in the LA area, so all the cast and crew of those areas are right there as well. Wilrow Hood Convention. So the Running of the Hoods was there on the live stage. They brought all of them out.
And
all of the talent that lives locally will be there. And San Fran is just hours away. You've got,
it's like 6 hours away.
Well, but it's not 6 hours away on a plane, or when you're, flying in all the people from ILM and stuff in the Bay Area.
Be careful, because they didn't bring all the locals from London to the London Con.
Yeah.
George
Well,
Lucas was
and that's the thing too. If they don't get invited to the con, is hit us up. We know people. It's like you.
here's
That
something.
is a big swing, Mike. That is a
Would
big swing.
would
Lucas
he show
showing
up?
up at the museum for Celebration.
Would he show up to the inevitable 50th anniversary of Star Wars panel?
He should.
Maybe.
He should. Yeah, is exactly. It's like, charter a plane as you put them on the Lucasfilm private jet to roll down from San Francisco to LA.
Hmm. Better chance of George Lucas
Oh,
than Mark Hamill. Spencer says.
I don't
Really?
even know that, man.
Why? I mean, yeah, he didn't go to Japan. Probably didn't want to travel internationally. He's been busy, but I don't see why he wouldn't come to LA.
Right.
He lives in Malibu.
Right. I don't know why he wouldn't just roll down the street to do that. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it would be a great extra. Even if you just got him to show up for one panel and that was it, like we got in Anaheim when we got John Williams to show up and Harrison Ford showed up on the stage. If you just get
wasn't that Orlando 2017 for the 40th?
They were both in Anaheim as well. Is Harrison
Really?
came out to introduce John Williams or wish him, I think, a happy birthday when John Williams came out to conduct the orchestra on stage, and it was just for the opening Lucasfilm panel.
He's
And
done
that
that
was
twice
it.
then, because he did that in Orlando too, where he was behind they did the orchestra thing.
So
Are you talking he did this also at Anaheim 3 years ago?
pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Because I was not in Orlando and I saw it in person and I was in Anaheim. So
Star Wars Celebration Toledo in 2034 will be amazeballs. Oh, hold your breath now, Doc. I don't
hey,
think
I myself would like to see Celebration hit some smaller kind of things. Toledo, great. I say throw it back to Denver, throw it back to Indianapolis, throw it back to some of the venues.
Chicago was a great venue.
Oh
My
yeah,
God,
well,
that was awesome.
yeah, is move it back around to some of the places that it's been in the US. I get why Disney wants it near their other Disney properties. Nobody wants Boston, Spencer. Nobody wants Boston. No, I kid.
I don't know if it's that bold of a statement for Mike to say that Mark would be there. I mean, just because Mark doesn't go to all the cons, it doesn't mean he hates going to cons. I mean,
right. Well,
I don't
and
blame
the
people
fact
for
I
not
thought
wanting
it
to do
was
that.
it's encouraging that he's done several cons recently. He did that con at Thanksgiving in San Francisco.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, and what was it? Was it Fan Expo? Was it Chicago or was it Dallas?
Remember.
He's done a couple of cons lately.
Come on, Naladoc. You're not too old for a con. You got to come out to LA and we can finally meet in person. And because Steve is looking into getting an Airbnb, and then we need a third person. So yes, Naladoc, you can come with us.
Yes, there is no too old for cons. Is everybody loves it? I'm preparing for the cons this summer. I had one scheduled in May that I'm not going to be able to make for other, responsibilities. Damn adult responsibilities. But, I've got some cons coming up in July. My local con here is Galaxy Con Raleigh. I always show up for that, no matter what. There's some other, I like mini and micro cons. We've got several like micro cons around in the area here that are just going to be like more of a Comic-Con, like May the 3rd. They've got Comic-Cons going on Free Comic Book Day, right? So
Mike says that's what sick days are for.
So, Mike, I have plenty of sick days. I've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 years of sick days, which I would like to use for early retirement.
Yeah, take them all at once.
Exactly. That's the level of where we're going right now is save those up. Is I already just took a week of them to go to Celebration, so we're trying to save some of those.
See, well,
Yeah,
maybe
I
the adult.
see, but like I said, there's also other responsibilities that I have that I like. This is knock on wood, my lacrosse team has a good chance of possibly making the postseason now, which we did not have necessarily think we had before. So I gotta be there for that. That's a not. I can't show up.
Mm.
But oh, look at there! It's Cincinnati Comic Con again. Superman fans comes to Cincy. Also, it's like Superman related. That those are good cons. Is I liked was a con I missed Rhode Island a couple of years ago where they had all but one of the living Supermen. I think we're there. And yeah, and that's the other one that I'm gearing up for is Texas is Rebel Scum Con in Texas in August is going to be a really good one and really Star Wars heavy. Uh, Galaxy Con Raleigh this year is going to be 90210 heavy. So, you know, those who are of a certain age, there's that. But and then, of course, ICCC coming up very soon in May is a reunion of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those are fun, and the Ninja Turtle people have been in so many other things too. Because of course, I think it's Brian. One of them is from Revenge of the Nerd. Come on, GalaxyCon is bummer on it. 90210. There's that. It's probably not so much for me, but it's ones that I can like get for my wife. But there's other things. Yeah, I hate the ICCC is the one that I had to cancel out on. Juan. That's the same. But it still looks like there's some really fun Star Wars guests. Brendan Wayne is there. I'd love to see Brendan again. He's always fun to see. Warwick Davis. Warwick's son is coming out for this one, which I thought was a nice one. Tons of Star Wars and like I said, the crossover, and you get the creators as well. There you go. Phantasmagoria.
Phantasmagoria, absolutely. And Scott will alienate everybody within 5 minutes because he likes to behave like a shock jock from the 80s and the 90s to see how many people he can scare away in the course of a few minutes.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, so that's basically our wrap or my take on what's going on or what went on at Star Wars Celebration Japan. I mean, I'd go back to Japan in a minute if it didn't involve the 13-hour flight. My main regret has nothing to do with the con, has nothing to do with, and we didn't even talk about like Tokyo Disneyland. Oh my God, Tokyo Disneyland. Especially Disney Seas, but it's just how long it takes to get there is why my main regret of the thing is I did not get to see as much of the culture of the country. I didn't get outside of the city. I didn't get to see Kyoto or Osaka or
shame.
I know. Again, it's in the middle of the school year and in the middle of the lacrosse season when I can only take off so much time.
But that's always going to be the case though, because they always do Celebration in April.
Well, this one is LA is going to be different, right? LA is April, but not Easter weekend. So a little bit different. And I am hoping that it aligns with like my spring break. So that would be an even better thing because if it aligns with spring break, then I can take off a couple of days ahead of spring break and a couple of days behind spring break and make it, that you could make swing. But push for all the teachers out there is let's have Star Wars Celebration in like a cool foreign country in the summertime. Damn it. Mm-hmm. But yeah. But I think it was a great one. It had its shortcomings. There were some issues with the autographing and the this and the that and
Oh yeah, they oversold a lot of autographs and are like, "Oh, you have to go into a separate line to get a ticket for that." Oh, but there's nobody manning the booth for the separate ticket. Well, then you don't get one. It's like, oh God,
Yep.
that's gonna hurt the rep.
That one happened to me. It was a thing. Oh, I am not suggesting a celebration in August in Orlando. I am not suggesting summertime in Orlando.
That's right. They used to do off-peak months.
One, I like the idea of family Christmas vacation. You know,
the thing about a family vacation to Disney World is that it's not an exaggeration to say that it might be cheaper just to fly back to Tokyo and go to Tokyo and see than spending days at Disney World.
it's from some places that might be close.
Oh, even if it isn't close, I bet the price range in terms of hotels and park fee versus Orlando's for Disney World.
Yeah, Disney World park prices for Tokyo Disney was amazing. Like literally a third of what it is for park prices here.
Yeah.
But there are ways in Orlando to do some really cool stuff that we really ought to look into and think of. Staying on Disney property is amazing, but stupid expensive. My family has done for the past few years. There's some really nice Airbnbs close to Disney World. That it's a really kind of thing. Oh, see, and Juan can stay over at Shades of Green. So
they are remodeling either the Grand Californian or the Mazik Disneyland Hotel right now. When they reopen, this is the one in Anaheim, it will be $1,000 per room.
Yeah,
insane. It's like they're trying to price out everybody but super rich people in the States.
But see, here's the thing, Kat, is I think that's hotel rooms in general.
No, I've seen the hotels for where I would have gone for Anaheim were significantly cheaper than the Disneyland hotels.
But here's the thing is we traveled, my daughter and I traveled to a con in Texas last summer, and we didn't plan it out, and we drove to save money. And like a hotel room for a night, we pull up at midnight and we're going to stay till like 7 a.m. tops. And it's $250 a night for
better
like
than $1,000 a night.
Well, it is better than $1,000 a night, but I'm not talking for the Grand Californian. I'm talking for Motel 6 on the side of the highway, and it's $250 a night, and it's just like, dude, just But that's the price of hotel stays at this point.
Agreed, Doc.
Oh yeah, is those kind of prices is just like that's the level of thing you do. And in some places though, you eat that. I was with my daughter. Myself I have spent many a night in my vehicle and been okay with that, but it is the way it is. But yeah, thank everybody for watching. Check it out on the VCN as we go this week. We've got a lot of specialty programming coming up because May the 4th is coming. It is already the end of April. The year is flying by fast. So check us out for season 2 of Clone Wars Revisited. They're watching. Season 2 starts Monday. We of course have the happy hour on Zoom on Tuesday. Come out, talk about all the rest of the things that you want to talk about. We'd love to see people in there. And happy hour, I mean, it goes from 7 Eastern to like sometimes like 2 a.m. Eastern time, right?
Yeah, it does. I would say that with Revenge of the Sith 3 releasing this week, that go see it if you're a Star Wars fan. Why not?
Yeah.
Now, I admit it doesn't look nearly as good as Phantom Menace on the big screen because, one, it was shot digitally instead of on film. And secondly, there's a lot more CGI than Phantom Menace, which had a lot of models and all that. And some of the CG doesn't hold up as well on the big screen like it did 20 years ago, particularly Utapau in places. There's some motion smoothing and blurs, but it's like, you know what? Mustafar still looks great on the big screen and that stuff. So go see Revenge of the Sith, sit towards the front of the screen to make it seem like an even bigger screen. It'll be fun. And I don't know if it'll get a release extension because of how well it's doing. It's on track to beat Phantom Menace's open weekend for the re-release last year, and if it does that, then yeah, they might extend it because currently in my region it's only slated to play through Wednesday, but we'll see. But yeah, go out there and see that. I've seen it twice already. It's fun. We did not get any of the Star Wars merch for the re-release up here, which is disappointing. Same thing happened last year. Didn't get any of those either. Got a bunch of leftover crap that nobody wanted to buy from Moana and Minecraft that are littering my theater's lobby. But
yes. Oh.
It's favorite scene.
But yeah, go out and do that. Again, join us for this special program. We're going to be doing Andor watch-alongs for, episodes 4, 5, and 6 this week. And we've got the May the 4th VCN special that we're going to be taping and playing. But, oh, your favorite scene, the killing of the younglings?
No, but it's still funny.
But Ross Speedman, Ross is going to be at Rebels Come Con. So come see.
That's cool one. His theater gave him a free extra large drink because the cup is so tiny. Yeah.
That's it. All right, people. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Join us again for all the VCN nonsense this week. And until the next time,
we will be talking a lot about Andor, by the way, next time. It'll be May 11th. So 75% of the series will be out when we reconvene on May 11th.
Yeah, that would be a good one. May 11th, a lot of Andor. We'll do the review of Andor so far and predictions for what is to come and see how wrong we can possibly be. Spoilers, they all die. No, there are potentially characters that might make it through this. But anyway, later.
Except, and the Force be with you.